All right, recording.
All right. Well, those guys, in case you don't know me, I'm Basil. I started Belegarth in end of June last year, but I've been doing fencing since about 2012, so that's where most of my experience comes from. I'm doing my best to do Belegarth terms for things, but I may occasionally lapse into fencing terminology, and people correct me. But we're going to talk today about just like basic single sword concepts. How many of you guys, show of hands, did Karis's like intro to fighting class like a month ago? We're going to do a lot of review for that, and if you didn't, I think it's a really good refresher. These are all like important stuff.
It doesn't hurt to go over things again.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. It's positive reinforcement. So first thing I want to talk about is grip. I think it's very important to hold the sword correctly. There's a couple different grips you can do. I'd say the classic one is like the hammer. It's kind of swing there. I would say where you hold the sword on the grip matters. Like, I don't like to do like pommel like this. This is awkward. It's gonna fly out of your hand. But I only choke up for very specific circumstances. My opinion is for blue, most of the time you want to use the reach. So I would hold about there. But again, personal preference. You know, maybe you want to do something tricky, you can like slide up. For you guys starting out, I'd say my recommendation is hold it just above the pommel. Take advantage of that reach. Reach is huge. The other grip is, rather than like the hammer grip, you can kind of put a thumb up. There's a right and a wrong way to do this, so we're going to talk about that. Yeah, good call. So what you don't want to do, and this is a bad habit of mine from fencing, is ideally you do not want to have the thumb straight on, because what can happen is we're fighting and he comes here and it's going to push my thumb back and jam my thumb. That sucks. So ideally what you want to do is something like this, where it kind of is off to the side, so that if that happens, it just slips. So I guess you could try that one too. I don't like that one as much. So I'd say that's kind of what you're going for. And what that gives you is it gives you the ability to leverage the sword a little bit better. So like rather than just making an attack this way, you can kind of like do this motion and snap it. And that gives you a little extra power, body mechanics, useful stuff. Any questions about grip? If at any point you guys have questions, just hold your hand up.
One thing I like to explain, it's kind of like that, and then left fingers. Would you agree with that?
Come again?
Like this here with these two, and then wrap it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So a pretty effective way, like, most of your power is coming from these two fingers, and the rest is like securing it. So what you can do to kind of grab the sword, hold it that way, and then wrap. Does that make sense?
Oh, it feels good.
So the bottom three fingers shouldn't really be gripping it much, just like a lightly wrapping around it to help with control.
Perfect, thank you. So everybody hold the sword. I just want to see how you guys do it. Looks good. Looks good.
Are we holding it our way or that way?
I want to see how you guys hold it.
Okay.
And if there's anything I think is egregious, I'll let you know. All right. Looks good.
Mine might be egregious because I'm like midway.
Yeah.
A lot of hammer grippers.
Yeah. Like I said, I think hammer grade is perfectly valid, especially if you're really worried about thumb injuries. I would definitely, if you get comfortable with it, move more towards up here, because that will make a difference in your strikes. All right. Next, want to talk about your stance. This is really important. So, and I was thinking about how best to teach this the other day. So it's going to be a weird way to try and express it, but the biggest thing I see people kind of do incorrectly is you kind of like chicken wing out, like when you're like in your stance. So your footwork should be, your foot is pointed at your opponent, or where you want to go, which is usually towards or away from your opponent. And your feet should form sort of an L. Like, you don't really want to be here or like crossing your feet. Your stance should be about here. Knees bent a little bit. You don't want to be like straight legged. You don't have balance if you do that. You don't want your feet to be too close together. That's a classic problem especially when people start getting excited. You start like stepping like this, and then you're wobbling. You say I'm top heavy. So knees should be bent. Coming from a fencing background, I tend to do like a deep stance like this. I don't think this is a good idea for Belegarth because the leg is a valid target in a way that it isn't in saber fencing. And the extra balance this gives you maybe isn't worth that trade-off. So I'd say knees relatively bent, something like that. Stance should be wide enough that you can move and have good balance without like wobbling. But the biggest thing is don't bring your feet too close together. Like I think Telfair, how many of you guys did the Triumph the Badger tourney? Yeah, Telfair's class. His whole class is talking about don't bring your feet too close together. We have that on the Bryxton Belegarth YouTube. If you guys don't know where to find it, it's on the Discord. Highly encourage you guys to watch that video in addition to Karis's intro to fighting basics because that footwork is key. So we'll if we got time, we're gonna do a little drill of footwork, and I'll get to watch you guys move. But this is the stance. All right, which leads into my next thing, which is the guard. I was talking with Casey about this, Juice, earlier, and the biggest thing I see a lot of fighters do is, I'm gonna call it chicken wing, the elbow's out. And when I see that, I'm gonna try and snipe that elbow. That's it's pretty easy to do for an experienced fighter. So, and the easiest way to not do that is I actually don't want to turn my shoulders like this because I can't cover this eye with my sword if my shoulders are turned all the way over here. So I actually want to be a little bit more forward facing, not here, but something comfortable like this. And it took me years to develop. So you guys, we're gonna work on it. I'm gonna encourage you guys. Tuck the elbows in and have the stance out.
T-Rex arms.
T-Rex arm. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. You're going to need to train yourself to do this. It's not a natural position. So what I do, start like standing out like this, and then turn to wherever I'm comfortable. And now you see the sword is completely blocking this side. There's no elbow. I cannot see the elbow here. And again, my feet are pointing at my opponent in sort of the L shape. This is where you want to be. So I can see your elbow, I can see your elbow, I can see your elbow. I can barely see yours isn't bad. Flinch, you're great. Juice is pretty good. They'll point your feet at me. I can see your elbow. So this is bad. This is where you want to be. Like you may feel like you're covering yourself, but trust me, if I can see the elbow, I'm going to hit it. So, and again, I'm going to try and reinforce that throughout the whole day. If there's one thing we're going to talk about, we're going to spend a lot of time on. This is called the guard position. I would say, starting out in single sword, having a good guard is the most important thing, and it goes to sword and board too. Your default position should be a very safe position, easy to throw shots from, and also a good defensive position. Like the easiest way to get somebody is they have a lazy guard and they walk into your distance, you just whack them. Like so, good guard. All right. Questions about guards? Yes.
So in single sword, I was taught that you want to use his hand as a guard.
Excellent point. Yeah, let's lead. That's I forgot to write that down. That's a good note. All right. So in single sword, anybody have questions about the rules, like in terms of like losing limbs and all that? So the important thing is if you get hit in the torso, you die. If you get hit in the arm, you don't die. You can swap your other weapons. So you also you don't want to have this arm out of the way because you can use that to cover yourself. And really good single sword fighters, like they'll like set it up and then they'll like use this arm to block your incoming shot and then kill you, kind of thing. So I would say passively, like anybody ever done boxing? I would say like use the other arm in sort of a boxing guard, like but a little bit closer to you because if it's all the way out here and they hit that arm, you lose it. So I would say like in your guard, you probably should have this here. I'd say if you have to, all the other things, I would say focus more on getting this right for now. But yeah, don't have the other arm out of the way. Kind of keep it somewhere where it's like protecting you so that, hey, it can catch a shot for you. It's good. All right. Everybody show me a good guard. Get in the position. Toes pointing towards your opponent. Stance relatively forward. Elbow not exposed. That's the important thing. I'm actually going to go around. I'm going to try and fix you guys one at a time. All right. So open the shoulders a little bit. When I say open the shoulders, what I mean is, I'm calling this closing the shoulders. This is opening the shoulders, like square the shoulders, maybe a better way to put it. Yeah, so like that. There. I know it's uncomfortable. And then, oh, the other thing, you should cock your wrist out, especially when you want to block.
Because if I come around like that, then it blocks it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a tendency to you know, kind of be like this, and I'll always passively keep the wrist cocked out like this. I've been doing that for years. Like it's
You want to show them on this angle?
So good, and especially if you see somebody making an attack at you, you know, flip out there.
That's very easy.
Yep.
So yeah, it's quick, and then it also like allows you to return.
Yep. All right. So again, try and cock that wrist out. That's good.
I guess I'll go around this way.
Good.
I would
That's good.
try to like
If you can open
Um,
shoulder
angle your
shoulder
torso.
open. Just getting that position is going to be
looks good.
progress.
I'm typically standing on the other side.
Okay. Oh, also feet. Y'all's feet are like a straight L like that. I would try to do it more of an angle. Also, one thing that wasn't mentioned is that you want to be on the balls of your feet because it's going to help you move around a lot easier.
With the legs. This or even more forward.
Like yeah, I like it like that. I think it's.
I know it feels
I think, you know, if you're comfortable with that, that's okay.
Yeah.
But
You
I think it's
don't have
straight
to have
like
the
that.
elbow literally touching. I like to imagine there's like. Oh, next we're going to talk about footwork. Your feet are the most important part of single sword. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Single sword, and really fighting in general, is all about controlling distance and timing, and you do that with your feet. It is so important. Like, I've been doing fencing for 12 years. Every time I ever do a fencing practice, the first thing I always do is footwork. Like, it is beat into you for fencing. Footwork. No, super important. Like, it's how you are a good fighter or a bad fighter. It's all in footwork. All right, so get into that guard stance, everybody, if you can. And the basic steps, again, Kara's talking about this. You always want to move the foot that is going somewhere first. So like if I want to go forward, I want to take my front foot and take the step forward. I land on my heel. That was an interesting conversation I had with Kara the other day. I don't think they're, for now, like just however you're comfortable. We can like really break down like whether it's better to step on your toe or on your heel later. I've always done heel roll like that, but it's always front foot moves forward, back foot comes to catch up. And again, super important, don't bring your back foot too far forward unless you're like intentionally doing it to set something up, because this is a really awkward position to be in for any length of time. It's wobbly. I think Telfair called this a shuffle. I think that's a great way to put it. It's a small step, front foot forward, back foot up. All right, and then retreating is essentially the same as that. Back foot moves forward, front foot catches up, like that. All right. Front foot forward, back foot up, back foot forward, front foot comes. All right. Scrappy, I know you are definitely a smaller guy than me, but I think you should actually take, like, I think you're bringing your back foot up too much.
Oh, okay.
I think you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to this stance, but that's way too far.
Yeah, like so. And really, it's something you're going to get a feel for. But I definitely like I said, the classic mistake new fencers or new fighters make is their feet come too close together. So it's something to get a sense for. I'm watching some of you guys. I'm like, I feel like you guys are bringing your feet a little closer together. It's better. One thing that'll help with this is sitting down in your stance a little bit. If you're like stiff-legged, it's really easy to bring your feet too close together. If you're in a deeper stance, it's much harder to accidentally bring your feet too close together because of the nature of having your knees bent. So think about that. When you're doing the footwork, try to think about sitting down in your stance instead of being stiff-legged. That should help. All right. We talked about advances, we talked about retreats, side steps. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on side steps today, but it is really super important. When we do the footwork training at 12:30, we can really go a lot more into how to do side steps, but we definitely got to talk about it. So if I want to go this way, I'm going to call this my dominant foot or weapon side foot. If I want to go that way, I step with the weapon side foot and go. If I want to go the other way, that way. What I do not want to do is I do not want to cross my feet because that's awkward. So this is not the ideal way to step sideways. Again, like as you get better, you'll find there are times when you would want to do that, like because this way it keeps the weapon between me and the opponent a little bit easier, whereas this is a little bit more open. But your balance is going to be really whacked if you cross your feet. So I wouldn't do it a lot unless you're intentionally trying to do something. If that makes sense. Anything you want to add to that?
Why don't you want to cross your feet?
I would say ideally you don't, because if you're in that position and you get caught, it's awkward.
Yeah, you lose your footing. I mean, this is a physical game where you can like bash and stuff too. So if I have my feet like this, it's going to be very easy for him to move, to tip me over. Less applicable with single sword, but like it still happens.
So again, it's not a never say never kind of thing. There are times when you want to cross your feet, but don't default to crossing your feet. I would say it's better to do this way than that way. All right, any questions about side steps, front steps, retreats? Cool. What are we doing on time? Okay, when we started.
I don't know, no big deal.
All right, so
What's the time?
15 minutes.
it's 12:50, 2:53. So
Okay.
this is one that we don't really talk a lot about, and it's super important in fencing. So I'm going to introduce the concept, and again, we'll spend a lot more time on this in the 12:30 footwork practices on Saturdays. We're going to talk about the lunge. In fencing, like traditional fencing, this is by far the most important piece of footwork. For single sword, I think you can get away with not doing it. And the fencing lunge is a bit different than ours in that it's deeper. But we're going to do more of a small lunge. So the way I've always taught the lunge, I should specify by the way, I coached fencing at Clemson, so I've been doing this for a long time. Traditionally, the way we always taught the lunge was the first thing you actually want to do, and this is sort of counterintuitive, you actually want to extend the arm first before you lunge. The big reason for this is I'm going to take a big step that's going to put me into his threat range. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to step into his threat range with my body while my weapon is way back here. Because that's how he hits me first and I don't hit him. And again, it's a little more important in fencing because the timing is a lot more sensitive in that. But it's still a good practice. I don't want to come at Shinzo like this, right? Because now he's going to hit me and I'm not ready. So it's better for me to like lead with the arm and then follow with the feet. Does that make sense? First step of the lunge is the arm. The next thing I'm going to do, I really should break this down, show you what we're going for, and then break this down. So ultimately what the lunge is it's a step, and we're not going to do this deep, this had it for years, where I'm stepping into his range to make an attack, and then I'm recovering out of it, ideally before he can hit me. Because what you don't want to do is, if he blocks me here, I'm stuck here, yeah, it's hard to get out. So this is not something you should do all the time, but if you're falling short a lot, this is going to help. So what I do, extend, then what you don't want to do with the lunge, the classic issue is like you try to like step off the ground and your like toe catches. So the way I would always train it is second step of the lunge is to actually pick your toes up off the ground, just a little bit, not like this. And you want to do that so that you don't accidentally catch your toes on the ground. Then the third step is the lunge, and a lot of things happen all at once. I'm going to kick off the back foot and then land on my, I've always done heel. Again, I've talked to Paris about this, and you could land on your toe, that's probably fine, it'll catch you better, you just gotta be careful. As you're doing that, you make your shot, and then what's gonna happen is you're gonna land, and your knee is gonna roll over your foot. A classic thing a lot of people make when they do this is they do like this. The knee goes way over the ankle, and all your weight goes like this, and now you're like super front heavy. And this is not a good position to be in. It makes it much harder to recover out of, and it's actually just really bad for your knee. This is how people tear their Achilles. Not Achilles, what's that?
ACL.
NCR, yep. So I would say roll until you get to your ankle and then stop. Yeah, so like Scrappy, that's probably a little bit too far. Yeah, that's all you need. Yep, that's good. And it's again, it shouldn't be you don't want to do something deep because this is going to make recovering a lot harder, but just here. And then the fourth step, and also really important, is the recover. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to take and push off that heel back into my guard. So that's my lunge. All right, so what was first step with the lunge?
Arm.
Extend. Yep. And it's not I don't want to like fully extend and then go. I should start the extension while I'm doing the lunge, because if I go fully extend, you know, he's gonna be like, oh, they're attacking. He's gonna be ready for it. But a light extension before you go, just so you don't step into that. Okay.
I would say the lunge is not, I mean, you kind of touched on this, but you don't want the lunge to be like your main attack. Make it like one of your, you know, moves in your arsenal. But, you know, if Basil lunges every time at me, I know exactly what's going to happen. So.
And again, the recovery is super important, and the further you do the lunge, the harder the recovery is. So I would say definitely in Belegarth, don't do a deep lunge, just do, you know, something like that. But yeah, don't do it every time, because like I said, he's gonna get you. All right, questions about that? I know that's a lot. Yep.
Is there any benefit to counterweighting your arm backwards with the lunge?
Ooh, when I traditionally taught the lunge, I literally would like pretend like I was pushing off a wall. But that's also a sport where like the arm's only job is to stay out of the way. So I would say don't do that unless you feel like you have to, because I really do benefit from the defense.
The passive defense is better than any extra range you could get from throwing your arm.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going to be a meat shield.
Sweet. Any other questions? All right, let's practice those steps. Everybody get in a big line. Let's pause the video.
Okay. I'm going to have someone set up.